In this video, we're going to discuss how to add a caregiver in HZCare. You can see we're in the Caregiver section, and you have a list of all your caregivers here. If you have a lot of caregivers, then you can click the search button up at the top to filter the list down. We have fields for first name. I can start to type in a name here, and we'll see our list whittle down in real time. We also have fields for last name, type, which is hourly or live-in, category, which are any categories you've set up in the admin section, and then status. And by default, status is on active. You can change that to inactive or to everybody. You can also click on this button to search by phone, email, or social security number. There's a refresh button in case somebody else in the office adds a caregiver while you're on this page. You can click refresh and see that new caregiver here. And then there's an add button. If we wanted to edit one of these caregivers, we would click on them. I'm going to click the add button because we want to add a new one. And we'll work through all these tabs here. I'm going to put in a name, and only the fields with stars are required. Put in a birthday, and an address, zip code, and phone. We'll say it's a mobile phone, and then an email, a social security number, an EIN. If you're a registry and one of your caregivers is operating as an LLC, then you might want to have an EIN, but otherwise we'll just leave that blank. Refer category and refer, if you've set up those in the admin section, you could select from those lists here, but I didn't set up anything in the referrer front. Payroll ID, if you're an agency and you use another software for payroll and you export payroll CSV files from the report section for your payroll software, you can enter an employee ID here from your payroll software so that the data gets matched up correctly. Let's say this person is employee 10 in my payroll software. And then finally down here in care information, we can leave start date on auto set on first post, and it'll just create a start date first time this caregiver works an appointment. We can manually set a date if we wanted to, but generally I would recommend just letting it set when you schedule them. Caregiver category, we can select from the different categories that we've created in the admin section, and those categories will have different pay rates set up on them. I'll make this person companion type. And then type of caregiver. Doesn't mean that this caregiver exclusively does hourly or live-in appointments, but it does help to categorize your caregivers for reporting purposes. And then finally, a status will go active. So then we'll move on to the requirements tab. And descriptors, requirements, skills, and locations. So descriptors are set up in the admin section. They're things that describe the client. And on the caregiver front, these are things that the caregiver can fulfill. So if the client has a dog and the caregiver that I'm creating is okay with dogs, I'll select dogs. And this caregiver is a man, so I can't select no men. Let's say the caregiver doesn't want to work with smokers. They're probably okay with cats. But let's say they only know how to prepare meals with meat, so they're not going to be a good fit for vegans and vegetarians. Go to the requirements, and any of these requirements that we toggle on, like say driver's license, we can also set an expiration date for. Let's say that expires out here in 2027. And you can do similar things for these other licenses that you set up. Skills, these are skills that the client needs the caregiver to be able to fulfill. Locations or parts of town where the caregiver is willing to work. Let's click a couple. Orientation. So here is our list of clients, and we can select the ones that we know this caregiver is going to be a good fit with. And this is something that you might figure out over time after you schedule the caregiver with a client. But right off the bat, we can see which clients fit on the descriptor, location, and skill front from what we're just working on in requirements. And we can see this client isn't missing any descriptors, locations, or skills that we fulfill. And same here. So we'll go ahead and add these two clients into the oriented clients section. And so when we go to do scheduling, we can just filter on oriented caregivers and clients instead of having to do all of our filtering on locations and skills and the like. Incompatibility. If we know a caregiver is a bad fit with a particular client, we can select as much. This is a new caregiver, so they're probably not a bad fit with anybody yet, but if they were, you could select that client here, specify if it was client initiated, caregiver initiated, maybe neither of them cared for the situation, and spell out the reason. Availability. So I can document when this caregiver is going to be available. This is today. Let's say they are available 8 to 5 on weekdays. Just leave that 8 to 5 in there and specify Monday through Friday. And I could set a termination date if I wanted to. I'm just going to hit done, and you can see that start to fill out on the calendar. The weekends are empty. Let's say I know the next Thursday the caregiver isn't going to be able to make it for a doctor's appointment in the morning. So I'm going to click here, add an unavailability in the morning from say 8 to 11. And if this is going to be like a series of days that the caregiver is missing, you could make it repeating and block out multiple days. This is just going to be a one-off, 8 to 11 a.m. Done. And you can see that that gets marked out on the calendar. So that when you go to do your scheduling later on, you can filter on available caregivers, filter on unavailability. Make sure that you get a caregiver who's actually going to be a fit time-wise for that client. Moving on to caregiver notes. This is where you track all your notes in the caregiver. Let's say I enter this is the first note, this caregiver. And I can give it a category. Right now, the only category that's set up for caregivers is the general category, but you can add additional categories in the admin section. And when you add it, you get a nice timestamp. You get to see which member of the office wrote that note. If you click on it, you can make edits to the note, and you can see all the original iterations of that note. Through the change log, you can see who made the changes. So I'd say it's a great compliance tool for keeping up with things. Onto documents, this is where you can upload any images or PDFs that you want to associate with this caregiver. In particular, it can be useful for linking an image to a particular requirement. So let's say I had a CPR license I wanted to upload that went with this caregiver. I could click Add Image, navigate to wherever that file is on my computer and hit Open. And then I'd write in the name for the file. And then since it is tied to a requirement, I can say that it's for the requirement, select the CPR license, and then I could select when it's expiring. Let's say it expires here. Okay, so now I'm going to hit done if it actually uploaded something. I didn't have a file in there yet though, so I'll hit cancel. And that's all the tabs, so we'll click save. Okay, so we've got a new entry for Leo Tolstoy, and I'm going to click back in here, and you'll see that once you've saved a caregiver, you get a new tab called Caregiver Mobile Access. And this is to grant the caregiver access to the HZ Caregiver app. And if I click Grant Access, we send out an invitation to that caregiver's email. And that's going to have a temporary password for them to log into HC Caregiver. Now, if that caregiver is no longer working for me in the future, I can click this button to deactivate their access. That's all for caregivers in HZCare. Have a good one.